Once the quiet charmer in Saint Elsewhere with ice blue eyes and quiet command, Mark Harmon reigned as TV's golden boy. Now 73 with silvered hair and a slower gait, he's embraced producing, trading on-screen intensity for behind-the-scenes legacy in a transformed, streaming-driven TV landscape. In the 80s, Corey Haim's tousled hair and wild-eyed grin lit up screens in The Lost Boys, defining youthful rebellion. But beneath the fame, battles brewed. Though he passed in 2010, his raw vulnerability paved a path for later stars who dared show brokenness beneath beauty. Remember the Kangol hat, gold chains, and lyrical swagger? LL Cool J didn't just survive fame, he mastered its shifts. Now 57, more sculpted than ever, he juggles hosting gigs and acting with calm authority, bridging generations as hip-hop's diplomat and network TV's steady anchor. Once the ethereal seducer and the talented Mr. Ripley, with windswept hair and melancholic charm, Jude Law now carries a weathered grace at 52. With balding temples and richer roles, he's shifted from ingenue to gravitas, reflecting cinema's move toward flawed, layered masculinity. Once the silver-haired savior in Pretty Woman, Richard Gere turned heads with quiet intensity and timeless charm. Now 75, his once jet-black mane has softened to silver, but his presence endures. Less romantic lead, more humanitarian force, using fame to spotlight compassion and global justice. Ferris Bueller once skipped school with effortless charm. Today, Matthew Broderick strolls Broadway with seasoned grace. At 63, the boyish grin lingers, now framed by gentler lines and quieter roles. He's traded teen rebellion for stagecraft, proving charisma evolves, but never truly fades. Like a summer crush remembered, Freddie Prinze Jr.'s She's All That era glow lit up late 90s screens. Now 49, with cropped hair and a grounded gaze, he writes behind the scenes and cooks for his family, choosing creativity and fatherhood over red carpets and studio lights. He danced into cinematic history in Saturday Night Fever in Grease, his swagger and cleft chin defining cool. Now 71, with a shaved head and soulful demeanor, Travolta explores indie films and spiritual growth, resilient through loss, ever reinventing in an industry he helped shape. From Legends of the Fall to Fight Club, Brad Pitt's golden mane and brooding smirk shaped a generation's idea of desire. Now 61, with sculpted lines and a quieter poise, he champions indie film and architecture, shifting from on-screen rebel to a tastemaker shaping Hollywood's creative soul. He burned with brilliance, wild-haired and electric in 10 Things I Hate About You, then haunting as the Joker. Heath Ledger passed in 2008, but his fearless choices redefined the emotional range of leading men. His legacy endures as a blueprint for vulnerability behind bravado. The intense rebel of The Lost Boys, with a sneer and trench coat, later became Jack Bauer, TV's relentless anti-hero. Now 58, with a fuller face and thoughtful style, Kiefer Sutherland tours as a musician, trading plot twist for melody in a reinvention few saw coming. Before we continue these amazing celebrity transformations, here's a quick challenge for you. Can you subscribe to Then vs. Now Legends in the next 5 seconds? Smash that subscribe button and join us on this journey through time with your favorite stars. Back in Back to the Future, his sharp wit and boyish charm made him the time-traveling icon of the 80s. Now 64, his voice gentler and posture changed by Parkinson's, Michael J. Fox leads with courage, his advocacy redefining what it means to be a star with purpose. Once the precocious teen in Third Rock from the Sun, Joseph Gordon-Levitt grew into a cerebral heartthrob with roles in Inception and 500 Days of Summer. Now 44, he sports a mature poise and devotes energy to indie projects and tech storytelling, still redefining what stardom can mean. Like a chameleon bathed in starlight, Jared Leto shifted from My So-Called Life's angst to Oscar-winning depth. At 53, the long hair remains, but his gaze reflects creative obsession. Between rock stages and art films, he's a restless architect of fame, style, and haunting transformation. In The Lost Boys, Jason Patric's brooding stare made vampires seem tame by comparison. Now 59, the tousled hair and intensity have softened, but his dedication to character work remains. Eschewing blockbuster fame, he became a quiet craftsman, choosing roles that challenge rather than chase the spotlight. As Mike Seaver on Growing Pains, Kirk Cameron embodied the lovable rebel of late-80s sitcom life. Now 54, clean-cut and composed, he stepped away from Hollywood, focusing on faith-based projects. His journey maps a conscious shift from teen idol to spiritual storyteller. From Good Will Hunting's brainy heartthrob to Armageddon's reluctant hero, Ben Affleck ruled late 90s screens. Now 52, with softened edges and graying stubble, he directs with precision, turning past turbulence into grounded artistry amid Hollywood's evolving narratives. Dylan McKay's brooding stare and tousled hair made Luke Perry a 90s sensation. Though he passed in 2019, his later roles showed surprising range. Behind the fame, he embodied stability, balancing Riverdale's grit with fatherhood, leaving behind a legacy of quiet, enduring depth. Once the chiseled warrior of Gladiator, Russell Crowe commanded screens with feral intensity. At 61, heavier set and bearded, he embraced his character work and music, choosing craft over vanity. His journey mirrors cinema's shift from mythic heroism to textured humanity. With sharp suits and sharper resolve, Denzel Washington once ruled thrillers with quiet fire. Now 70, his gait more deliberate. He mentors off-screen and still electrifies on it. His legacy stretches beyond awards. He redefined dignity and depth for generations of Black actors. From Charles in Charge to teen mag covers, Scott Baio once played the boy next door with a rebel streak. Now 64, with a low-profile life and silvered temples, he's distanced from mainstream screens, opting for personal convictions over career revival, still shaping conversations from the sidelines. He once stretched faces and hearts in Ace Ventura and The Truman Show, redefining comedic stardom. Now 63, with a contemplative stare and salt-pepper beard, Jim Carrey paints, writes, and reflects, trading slapstick for stillness and laughter for legacy. His evolution remains art in motion. Bourne's sharp instincts and Good Will Hunting's brilliance made Matt Damon a thinking man's heartthrob. At 54, the action lines have faded to wise edges, and he champions storytelling and philanthropy. Grounded and enduring, he navigates Hollywood not as a star, but as its steady conscience. He led The Breakfast Club with quiet strength and teen angst. Now 63, Emilio Estevez wears his years with humility, trading Brat Pack buzz for directing and independent films. With grayer hair and deeper purpose, he's carved out a path built not on fame, but on meaning. With flowing locks and steely charm, Lorenzo Lamas rode high in Renegade, the biker heartthrob of 90s syndication. Now 67, his hair shorter and style reserved, he's embraced quieter passions like flying helicopters, stepping away from fame's glare into skies of reinvention. From the brooding outsider in 21 Jump Street to Jack Sparrow's chaotic genius, Johnny Depp became a chameleon of cool. Now 62, weathered and enigmatic, he focuses on music and indie projects, navigating public storms while preserving the eccentric artistry that defined him. In Dirty Dancing, his lithe frame and intense gaze made him an icon of desire. Behind that grace, Patrick Swayze battled fiercely until his passing in 2009. His blend of strength and tenderness helped shift Hollywood's image of masculinity, from stoic to soulful. His eyes held the weight of old souls, River Phoenix, ethereal in Stand By Me, and magnetic in My Own Private Idaho. Though his life ended in 1993, his impact endures. He gave vulnerability a pulse, inspiring a generation of actors to lead with silence and truth. Once the smirking action everyman in Die Hard, Bruce Willis embodied grit with a wink. Now 70, with a gentler presence and health challenges redefining his public life, he remains a symbol of resilience, his decades on screen echoing with impact, even in the quiet of retreat. The crane kick that captivated a generation in The Karate Kid still echoes in Cobra Kai. At 63, Ralph Macchio retains that boyish charm, now tempered with wisdom. With darker curls softened by time, he's bridged nostalgia and renewal, proof that legacy can fight its way forward. He cut loose in Footloose, electrifying screens with wiry energy and raw charisma. Now 66, Kevin Bacon embraces his weathered edge, still thriving in indie films and music gigs. From pop icon to cult mainstay, he's proof that range and rhythm don't fade, they evolve. From silent standoffs and spaghetti westerns to stoic lawmen, Clint Eastwood once ruled screens with steel-eyed grit. Now 95, frail but formidable behind the camera, he directs with austere clarity. His stare may have softened, but his storytelling cuts deeper than ever. Once the rugged adventurer in Indiana Jones, with a crooked grin and roguish charm, Harrison Ford now walks slower but still commands attention at 82. He's embraced roles with emotional nuance, aging into gravitas while cinema itself evolves around the legacy he helped define. The smoldering star of Desperado, Antonio Banderas dazzled with sultry eyes and flamenco flair. Now 64, with salt and pepper hair and gentler pace, he explores quieter roles and theater work, channeling charisma into artistry shaped by resilience and cultural pride. From boyish charm in Big to soulful gravitas in Philadelphia, Tom Hanks became America's cinematic conscience. Now 68, with soft lines and wiser eyes, he writes and produces, offering stories rooted in empathy, his work mirroring Hollywood's turn toward humane storytelling. With piercing eyes and a smirk that rivaled his famous brothers, William Baldwin made waves in Flatliners and Backdraft. Now 62, with a fuller face and low-key style, he focuses on indie films and advocacy, opting for purpose over chasing a spotlight that long moved on. As the brooding heart in La Bamba, Esai Morales captivated with fierce eyes and smoldering depth. Now 62, his features sharpened by age, he commands roles with gravitas in series like Ozark. Long past teen idol status, he's become a quiet force reshaping Latino visibility on screen. Boombox in hand, trench coat flaring, Say Anything made John Cusack the thinking teen's dream. At 59, with a heavier gaze and a taste for edgy indies, he walks away from studio sheen. Once a rom-com staple, now a cinematic rebel charting his own unapologetic course. He once ruled box offices in Lethal Weapon and Braveheart, wielding rugged charm and electric eyes. Now 69, his beard thick and legacy complex, Mel Gibson directs with raw vision, controversial yet relentless, a figure shaped by storms, still forging narratives that ignite debate. In The Outsiders, his sensitive stare defined teen turmoil. Today, at 58, C. Thomas Howell sports a weathered jaw and indie grit, working steadily in genre TV and film. Though far from the limelight, he remains devoted to craft, a steady soul in Hollywood's shifting tides. From Police Academy to Three Men and a Baby, Steve Guttenberg's grin was pure 80s charm. Now 66, with grayer hair and less screen time, he's turned to writing and stage work. Once a household name, he now crafts joy from the sidelines, still lighting up rooms, just differently. A child star in Silver Spoons, Ricky Schroeder grew up before our eyes, his golden curls and earnest eyes defining 80s innocence. Now 55, with a weathered look and conservative causes, he stepped back from Hollywood, embracing personal convictions over the industry's script. ER's brooding doctor with the salt and pepper flair, George Clooney became a global icon of cool. At 64, with laugh lines deepened in a producer's eye, he crafts stories behind the camera and champions justice, evolving from leading man to cultural architect. Once the boyish beauty of St. Elmo's Fire, Rob Lowe's clean jawline and mischief drew headlines. Now 61, his polished look intact, he's reinvented himself through comedy, podcasting, and self-parody, embracing longevity by outpacing the very image that once defined him. Once the bruised underdog in Rocky and relentless force in Rambo, Sylvester Stallone punched his way into cinematic legend. Now 78, with sculpted features softened and voice gruffer, he mentors and reflects, turning his saga into legacy, proving grit matures but never fades. In Speed and the Matrix, Keanu Reeves captured quiet strength behind soulful eyes. At 60, with streaks of silver and a monk-like calm, he balances blockbuster revivals with off-screen humility. A modern myth in motion, his allure lies as much in grace as in gravity. From the Goonies to the Lost Boys, Corey Feldman was the fearless friend with edge and energy. Now 53, his style is theatrical, voice more defiant than nostalgic. Though the spotlight dimmed, his story speaks of survival and the cost and courage of growing up on screen. With rapid-fire wit in Beverly Hills Cop and Coming to America, Eddie Murphy reigned as comedy royalty. At 64, with a reserved smile and trimmed goatee, he's returned selectively, trading slapstick for legacy, laughter for longevity. His timing? Still sharp. His presence? Still unmatched. In The Breakfast Club, his clenched jaw and rebel glare made Judd Nelson the face of teen defiance. Now 65, with graying stubble and softer edges, he appears in indie films and voice work, trading center stage for quieter terrain while still carrying that outsider spark. As the dreamy outsider in Pretty in Pink, Andrew McCarthy wore vulnerability like armor. At 62, with crow's feet and calm presence, he's a respected director and travel writer, proving that introspection, not fame, can be the truest legacy of the Brat Pack generation. From Can't Buy Me Love's geeky charm to Grey's Anatomy's smoldering surgeon, Patrick Dempsey evolved into a late-blooming icon. Now 59, sharp-suited with streaks of gray, he balances film roles with race car circuits, fusing adrenaline and elegance in unexpected ways. Snake Plissken's eye patch and Big Trouble swagger made Kurt Russell a cult icon. Now 74, his mane silvered and presence more grounded, he plays rugged patriarchs and mentors, his career spanning eras, proving that charisma endures even as the action slows its pace. From Top Gun's aviator-clad daredevil to Mission Impossible's ageless agent, Tom Cruise defied time with sheer intensity. Now 63, still lean and high-flying, his face bears subtle lines, but his pace never slows. He's less heartthrob, more legend, chasing legacy at supersonic speed. With pastel suits and a smirk, Miami Vice made Don Johnson the embodiment of 80s cool. Now 75, with silver hair and mellow charm, he's embraced elder statesman roles. No longer chasing neon dreams, he lends quiet gravitas to screens. His swagger evolved into presence. He led with quiet strength in Dances with Wolves and The Bodyguard, redefining stoic allure. At 70, with a weathered face and Western cadence, Kevin Costner rides again in Yellowstone. Less Hollywood prince, more frontier patriarch, still commanding attention with steady grace. Cruel Intentions crowned Ryan Phillip the brooding prince of late at 90s desire. Now 50, his sculpted jaw remains, but he channels depth into darker roles and indie work. The boyish mischief matured into shadowed resolve, his screen presence grown sharper, stranger, and more sincere. From the wisecracking rebel in Less Than Zero to the billion-dollar brilliance of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr.'s journey is pure reinvention. Now 60, with a contemplative gaze and refined edge, he produces and advocates, turning past chaos into a legacy of resilience and reinvention. Once the smirking daredevil in Top Gun and the haunted artist in The Doors, Val Kilmer lit up screens with enigmatic intensity. Now 65, voice altered by illness and presence subdued, he shares his story through art and documentary, embodying grace forged through hardship. With a gravelly voice and soulful eyes, Dermot Mulroney brought depth to rom-coms like My Best Friend Wedding. At 61, still classically handsome but grayer, he thrives in character roles, proving that quiet consistency can outlast the noise of passing heartthrob fame. The tough yet tender teen of The Outsiders, Matt Dillon smoldered through the 80s with streetwise charisma. Now 61, more rugged and contemplative, he leans into offbeat indie films, aging not into nostalgia, but into a defiant, evolving vision of masculinity on screen. With a rebel smirk and velvet voice, Christian Slater lit up Heathers and Pump Up the Volume. Now 55, the sharp edge has mellowed, but his intensity remains, channeled into nuanced TV roles and narration. No longer the teen anarchist, he's become a master of subtle menace. Once the stammering charmer of Notting Hill and Four Weddings, Hugh Grant made awkward endearing. At 64, his boyish curls are streaked with gray, and his roles darker, more cunning. Shedding the rom-com prince persona, he's embraced reinvention with wit and delicious bite. As Uncle Jesse in Full House, John Stamos defined rock and roll heartthrob with his leather jackets and perfect hair. Now 61, the hair's still enviable, the charm more reflective. He mentors, performs, and produces, still in the spotlight, but with a gentler, seasoned rhythm. Reality Bites made Ethan Hawke the poster poet of Gen X disillusionment. Now 54, with crinkled eyes and a restless mind, he writes, directs, and acts with purpose. The slacker soul matured into a creative force, uninterested in fame, but obsessed with meaningful art. From Moonstruck's offbeat charm to Face/Off's wild intensity, Nicolas Cage became a genre of his own. Now 61, with streak hair and a quieter cadence, he balances cult hits and art house risks, transforming eccentricity into endurance in an industry that rarely forgives reinvention. The slick power broker of Wall Street, Michael Douglas once personified 80s ambition with a cool glare. At 80, with a softer voice and dignified stride, he plays mentors and meditative roles, his career reflecting a shift from cutthroat edge to thoughtful gravitas. From his smoldering presence in The Hunt for Red October to the satirical genius of 30 Rock, Alec Baldwin has always walked a line between intensity and wit. Now 67, with silvering hair and a weightier frame, he remains a polarizing force, unfiltered, seasoned, undeniably present. Once the sculpted titan of Rocky IV, Dolph Lundgren's icy glare and towering frame defined Cold War-era action. Now 67, with line features and professorial calm, he balances acting with engineering and advocacy, his path proof that intellect and muscle can share the screen. From The Fresh Prince to Men in Black, Will Smith's charisma lit up screens with boundless charm. Now 56, with a reflective gaze and measured steps, he navigates personal trials and artistic rebirth. Less blockbuster invincible, more human and evolving, still a giant, just in quieter motion. He sprinted through Train Spotting and glided as Obi-Wan with soulful control. At 54, Ewan McGregor's boyish edge has softened into thoughtful grace. Whether wielding a lightsaber or a script, he balances introspection and adventure, proof that artistic depth only deepens with time. As James Bond, Pierce Brosnan was suavity incarnate, cool gaze, crisp tucks, lethal charm. Now 72, with silver curls and a painter's soul, he embraces character roles and canvas alike. The spy may be gone, but the elegance remains, recast as wisdom, not weaponry. From Boogie Nights' brash ascent to action hero stardom, Mark Wahlberg's path was loud and kinetic. At 54, with a muscular frame and quieter focus, he balances faith, business, and selective roles. The bravado matured into purpose, still driven, but by legacy over spotlight. Once the clean-cut heartthrob of Beverly Hills 90210, known for his earnest stare and perfect hair, Jason Priestley now directs indie dramas with quiet precision. The teen idol sheen has faded into a thoughtful presence, less paparazzi, more purpose, navigating Hollywood from behind the lens. Like a beloved sitcom rerun, his charm endures in memory. Jonathan Taylor Thomas, the precocious star of Home Improvement, stepped away from fame to pursue education. No longer the tousle-haired teen idol, he walks campus paths, not red carpets, choosing intellect and privacy over the spotlight's constant hum. From fast cars in Ferris Bueller to swagger in 2.5 Men, Charlie Sheen once ruled screens with reckless charisma. Now, after public battles and redemption arcs, he embraces sobriety and fatherhood, trimmed down and mellowed, living proof of resilience amid Hollywood's harsh reinvention cycles. The Mummy made him a global icon, all brawn, wit, and vulnerable charm. After injuries and obscurity, Brendan Fraser returned, rounder and wiser, with a soul-bearing role in The Whale. No longer the action hero, he's now a symbol of emotional depth and of a Hollywood that finally remembered his worth. Once sprinting down beaches in Baywatch with a sun-kissed grin, David Hasselhoff now commands European stages, a pop icon with cult reverence. His jet-black mane now silvered, he's leaned into nostalgia with self-aware flair, shifting from slow-motion savior to a global showman of reinvention. Like a comet that never burned out, Leonardo DiCaprio's magnetism evolved from teen idol in Romeo and Juliet to a titan of prestige cinema. His boyish looks have sharpened with time, once the poster on bedroom walls, now the voice behind climate urgency, redefining fame as fuel for impact. In LA Law, he ruled a courtroom with sculpted jawlines and crisp suits. Today, Harry Hamlin crafts artisan goods and appears sparingly on screen, his once flawless frame gentler, posture grounded. He's traded leading man limelight for legacy, shaping culture quietly, beyond primetime allure. The Terminator reprogrammed action cinema, biceps, bravado, and an accent that became iconic. Now 77, Arnold Schwarzenegger speaks on wellness and democracy with statesman gravitas. His bulk refined, gait slower, he's pivoted from blockbuster icon to a builder of ideas as massive as his legacy. Then versus Now Legends is feeling a bit lonely. 99% of you haven't subscribed yet. Show us some love and hit that subscribe button so we can keep bringing you the jaw-dropping journeys of your favorite stars. And if you're as fascinated by then and now glow-ups as we are, check out our previous videos. Trust us, they're totally worth your time and ours too.